second lag. So hello beans, let me know if you can hear me. Welcome to my interview today with the wonderful Ronnie Lee. So I'm going to say hello to people in the chat. We've got Satan inside. Hello. We've got Zactivist. Hi Zactivist, long time no see. Terry, hello Terry. The wonderful Nikki, hello Nikki. We've got a comrade of yours, Roger Yates. Hello, Roger.
Yeah. Hi, Roger. I've just been on Roger's programme, so he's returning the favour.
Yeah, you just did a live as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's loads tonight, I think.
Oh, no,
and there's my wonderful friend Gail, who's fantastic. Tom as well. Hello, Tom. Welcome. And yeah, thank you, loud and clear. Brilliant. I'm glad the sound's good. So I want to say hello, Gawain, as well. I want to say a massive thank you, Ronnie, for agreeing to do this interview with me. It's an absolute honour and pleasure to have you on my channel.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. I'm pleased to be here. It's always nice to chat with fellow vegans about vegan activism. It's my favourite subject, really.
Yeah. Mine too, definitely. I can't seem to think about anything else at the moment. It's constant in my head of what I can do next and how we can help people to get active. And that's the whole point of this interview today, is I'm hoping that you'll be able to inspire some passion in people and get them out and doing something. So people probably know this story, but for those that don't, how did you become vegan and when?
I became vegan in 1972. I'd become vegetarian in 69. How I became vegetarian, because it kind of all started with that, was I was still living at home with my parents, and I've got a sister that's 18 months younger than me. She started going out with a guy who was vegetarian. My mum hated it, thought he was a weirdo and a crank. I was very curious. I hadn't really heard about vegetarianism before. Asked him why. He said he'd been vegetarian since he was a young boy really. He was a really good athlete. He represented the county at athletics, so hadn't done his health any harm. And he said it was because the animals, he thought it was wrong that animals should be killed for people to eat when it was unnecessary and we didn't need to do it. I was a huge meat eater. I was one of these people that used to suck the marrow out of bones.
This is my husband.
Yeah, and eat bacon rind and all that, pork scratchings, awful, everything. And so it was like really difficult for me. Kind of at first, I tried to make whatever excuse I could in my head to carry on eating meat, but I couldn't, because he was this guy that was really fit. He'd been vegetarian for a long time, and his arguments for it were seemed really logical.
Mm-hmm.
So after 3 days of agonising, I decided to become vegetarian. I told my sister. She was delighted because she wanted to become vegetarian as well. But she was kind of frightening my mum, because my mum was like the taskmaster in our house rather than my dad. She was scared how she'd react. So I went down to breakfast. My mum asked me, did I want egg and bacon for breakfast, or did I want bacon and egg? And I said, no. I said, could we have cornflakes? And she immediately twigged. She said, oh, no. I knew it. That crank has got to you. You've become bloody vegetarian. Go out in the garden and eat the grass. It needs cutting. She said. So anyway, she got used to it. She'd make the food and, make us something instead of the meat. But I don't think any animals were kind of spared, because it was mainly still animal products, omelets or cheese or something. Mm. And then a couple of years later, I went into a health shop in the nearest town, because there was a sign on the window saying vegetarian food, and I thought, oh, wonder what that is. Went in there and I picked up a copy of the Vegetarian Society's magazine, and on the way home, I went home on the bus and I was reading through it, and there was an article in there about veganism, and there was stuff in there about all the sorts of things like animal experiments and the fur trade, hunting, that I wasn't aware of. I just didn't want to eat animals, and when I was vegetarian, my lifestyle didn't change at all. I still had the same mates, and I used to pull my leg a bit about being vegetarian, but nothing changed. I just changed my diet, really.
Yeah.
But when I read all this stuff, I thought, this is awful. I didn't know. I've got to become vegan, and I've got to do something about this, because this is horrific. And I got in touch with the Vegan Society. They sent me information. I became vegan within a couple of weeks, and very soon after, I saw something on the television about the Hunt Saboteurs, and I got involved with the Hunt Saboteurs, and it kind of all went from there, really.
All went from there.
Yeah.
I didn't know how you went vegan, so it's
yeah.
It's good to hear it from that side. And this is going to sound really horrible now, but obviously because we've got social media now, and I think that's easier. But to get that magazine and to be able to have that information there, and how it'd be lovely to know how many people are actually affected by that person's piece in the paper.
Yeah, I kind of hope they were, because I think the thing is, I think that it kind of, we've still got the situation where there are vegetarians who could become vegan if they knew what happened to the hens and the chicks and the cows and the calves, to be honest. And I lost me. Where is it? Oh,
still there, that's right.
I've got one. Where is it? That's it. Let's see if I push it in really hard, and then I'll never get out again. And this is it. I think that you sort of think that more vegetarians are going to be, able to learn about veganism, because we've got the, we've got the internet and all that. And I think that's true, but I still think that there probably are quite a few that don't know, and I kind of think that they're kind of, out of the whole population, they're probably the most likely people to go vegan.
You'd think they would be the easiest. I actually find those conversations with vegetarians sometimes the hardest, and I'm surprised at how many, that you're right, a lot of them don't know, and when you ask them, why are you vegetarian, like a huge majority of them say, I'm vegetarian because I'm against animal cruelty. Some of them it's, I've got a friend that's been vegetarian her whole life, but when her mum was pregnant, her mum couldn't eat meat, so she's literally been vegetarian since she was in the womb. But she's not vegetarian for ethics. She's vegetarian because she just doesn't enjoy eating animals, doesn't like the taste. So it's got nothing to do with ethics. And I have met a few people like that. But I think...
I think, I mean, people are vegetarian for different reasons. Just as I suppose people eat, a plant diet for various reasons. But I think you're only really vegan if it's for the animals. You're only really vegan if it's for animal liberation. But going back to the vegetarians, I think there are a lot of potential vegans. I often thought, well, shall I go in the supermarket and kind of put vegan leaflets inside the packets of corn? Because that's what they're kind of where the vegetarians go, into the corn section a lot of it, and thinking that because they're sort of probably, the group that are perhaps most likely to go vegan, although I kind of agree with you about vegetarians being really difficult sometimes, because out of the many, many stalls I've done promoting veganism, the kind of, I think the person who kind of was the most argumentative and sort of showed the most resistance was somebody who was vegetarian.
Yeah.
And I think what it was she thought she was great because she was vegetarian. She became vegetarian and she thought, I was brilliant, I'm not buying into, cruelty to animals anymore. I'm not buying into slaughter of animals more. And then suddenly she realised that it wasn't enough. And I think that it was that guilt, I think, of knowing that, of thinking that she'd been great, and then realised that she hadn't been all that great. And I think that's what caused her to be antagonistic. But we gave her, we sort of said, all right, kind of, sometimes you have to sort of agree to differ with people and just kind of let them go on their way. But I think if you give them information to look at, then you never know. Rather than you've not been like really rude to them and kind of totally put them off, I think you give the person information, there's always a hope that they'll look at that and that they'll change their mind. And I've actually known that happen with people
Yeah.
when I've met them later, and somebody had a big, not an argument, but a difference of opinion, and they were kind of staunchly never going to be vegan, and then
I've had
meet them
exactly the
sometime
same.
later.
Yeah, I've had the same experiences. I've had people come up to me in the street and gone, "Oh, do you remember speaking to me?" And I was like, "No, I don't." Sorry. No. Oh, we had this big argument about veganism, and I just want to let you know that I looked into the stuff that you gave me, and I've gone vegan. It's like brilliant, fantastic.
Yeah, so there's always hope.
Yeah.
I think with people that you kind of, I think it's always important to give people information. It's good to have a conversation, but it's always important to give them something to go away to look at afterwards. Have some good information about it.
100%, because there's people taking information in different ways as well. So some people may be more comfortable reading something, or like Grumpy Vegan Grandad, like you said the other night, he's better at watching things. So, and some people would rather sit in front of in a book and absorb it that way. So yeah, there's so many different ways. So how long did it take you to become active once you went vegan?
Just a few weeks, because what happened, I mean, that was kind of a chance thing as well. I'd got all, I sent away to all the organisations that are mentioned in this magazine. I sent away, so I joined all of them, League Against Cruel Sports and the Anti-Vivisection Societies and the Anti-Fur Group. I joined all of them and got all their stuff. And then there was a news item about hunt saboteurs. It was hunt saboteurs being attacked by the hunt, actually. And it made me really angry, and I thought I need to help those people. And so I got in touch with I got in touch with League Against Cruel Sports, and they put me in touch with the Hunt Sabs, and the Hunt Sabs put me in touch with my nearest group, and I used to go and hunt sab with them. And then that was about 20 miles from where I lived, but then I actually set up a group where I lived, which was in Luton at the time.
Okay.
And we used to go out every Saturday in my little Mini and try and sabotage the hunt. So it was kind of just by chance that there was this item on the television. But I probably would have got involved in some sort of activism anyway, because but the problem was at the time that a lot of the organisations, I joined all these organisations, but they weren't really activists. They just wanted their members to send them money and maybe write a letter to the MP.
Yeah.
They didn't encourage their members to become active themselves, you see. So I may not have been able to become active through them, and it was just lucky that I saw the thing about Hunt Sabs that I was able to kind of get out and do stuff.
That's good. One of the things that I'd love to get involved in is the Hunt Sabs and the badger set protection. It's something I definitely want to do. I don't drive, so it's just try and find someone that can give me a lift. And obviously once we're out of COVID and there's not that danger as well, but it is something I want to look into, definitely. We have some foxes and badgers in our back garden. I've not seen the badgers, but my husband has. I've seen the mess they make of my lawn, but it's fine.
We've kind of had the same. We have foxes in the garden. We've had a badger. Sometimes we see badgers and foxes out of the window just going along the road. I mean, we live in kind of like a big village, but we have seen badgers going around at night. They are about. And yeah, I think it's great that people are going out and doing that sort of stuff. I think kind of different people are cut out to do different things. And There's some people that kind of feel like I want to get out there. I want to kind of be hands-on, and I want to kind of destroy some badger traps, and I want to kind of sab the hunt. And there's other people that are, more prefer sort of street activism. There's a whole range of, different things there for people to do.
Just so much, yeah. And even with the Hunt Sabs, you don't actually have to be out there with them. You can do admin for them as well. So there's other ways that you can contribute, right?
Yeah, I think there's lots of ways. I mean, I've not been sabbing for years myself, but I have done fundraising stuff for them and for the activists. I went out once. I'll tell you a funny story about the badger cull. I've been out a couple of times against the cull, and the first one I went out. It was down in somewhere in Gloucestershire, and we met up in this kind of church car park at a church, and we were there was somebody with a map, and they were kind of giving people different sets to go, and the idea we were going to sit by these sets to protect them. And I was with this guy, like an old friend of mine, and we were just about to go off, to go and protect this particular set. And these police turned up, these special constables turned up, and they were going around asking everyone their names. And people were refusing because they had no right to know people's names. And they came up to us and they asked my friend, they said, what's your name? And he said, I'm not telling you, And the woman constable turned to me and she said, could I have your name, sir? And I said, yes, of course you can. And my friend looked at me like, what, what's the matter with you? And she said, what is your name, sir? And I said, my name is Brian May. And she said to me, well, you don't look much like Brian May. I said, no, I don't now. I said, this badger cull, it's been so stressful. I said, all my hair's fallen out. I've shrunk in size. My eyesight's gone to pot. And I've lost all musical ability. So she wrote it down. She said, all right. And she wrote Brian May and on a notepad. But I kind of think if the real Brian May had turned up, they wouldn't have believed that. They'd have thought, they'd said, no, you're not Brian May. He's a little bald bloke with glasses. Yeah. But I did go like a couple of times, but I've kind of helped him, with the fundraisers and stuff for them as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's just so much you can do, and it just proves that point that it's not just about breaking into farms, or the other thing that you're quite famous for is breaking into labs.
Yeah, I mean, mainly kind of trying to cause damage to places. I mean, with the Animal Liberation Front, we kind of labs themselves were always a kind of quite a difficult target because of the security. I mean, now like everyone's got security because security is so cheap now in the digital age. The security now on everything is so much greater than it was. You go back to the 70s and the 80s. Only like the real big places had any kind of security, and that included laboratories because there's a lot of expensive equipment in there. So a couple of us did try to burn down a lab that was being built. We kind of waited for all the construction workers to go and then poured petrol round and set fire to it, but it wasn't destroyed. I mean, it was badly damaged.
No.
So that was one incident, and but when it got kind of closer to being completed, because we went back to kind of have another go, when it was close to being completed, there was security there. And because of the security situation, with the sort of the vivisection industry, our main targets were really the people that bred and supplied the animals to the labs, because we was a sympathiser sent us a list of these places that was kind of had been sent out to kind of various firms that made kind of equipment, laboratory equipment or something, and he was connected with something like that, and he got this list and sent it to us. And so we had this hit list of all these places, and we went round causing damage to the animal suppliers, because they didn't really have security, so they were much easier target.
What inspired you to start the ALF then? What was the
the ALF was originally known as the Band of Mercy, and how it kind of happened was that there was a number of us involved in the mainly in Hunt Sabs, and kind of one thing I learnt from sabbing, there's a particular type of hunting called cub hunting that they do early in the season, and basically it's to give the hounds a taste of blood. And basically what they do is when the foxes are out at night hunting with the cubs, with the young foxes, the hunt block the sets up so they can't go back down into the set. And then so the foxes are above ground in a wood, and hunts around the wood make a lot of noise to keep them in there. And basically they just send the hounds in just to slaughter the foxes. And so it's very difficult to sab that because there's no chase that you can interfere with. Yeah. And you can't really go in there because there's all these loads of hunt there that are just, to just smash you to pieces. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of stood there just, really helpless, unable to really do anything. So we thought, well, what can we do about that? And we came up with this. In fact, I think there were some people that were kind of already doing it in a small way, kind of going to the hunt kennels in the early hours of the morning and damaging their vehicles, so they couldn't actually go out to do the cub hunting, because they used to go out really early to do that. I mean, it was like, I think it's something that starts in August, and they'd be out about 4 o'clock and do it starting 4 o'clock in the morning. So we'd go, and we kind of thought we want to do that, but we can't do it as the hunt saboteurs, because the hunt saboteurs is kind of meant to keep within the law. So we thought we'd got to set up a different group, and we had this meeting in London. We were in a basement cafe in London. We were huddled in the corner. There were 6 of us at this meeting about what we were going to do. And we thought, well, we need to form a different group. And we came up with the name of the Band of Mercy, because that was the name of an RSPCA youth group in the 19th century.
Right.
And they used to do direct action. I mean, totally.
Wow,
They damaged guns belonging to shooters and stuff like that. They were kind of a bit militant. So we thought we want to revive the spirit of that. Call ourselves Band of Mercy, and kind of that's how it started. And our first actions were against hunt kennels, where we'd go and we'd cause damage to their vehicles to stop them going out, because they wouldn't have much time to repair them. By the time they got up, they had to go out cub hunting 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, what could they do? See, so that's what we did. And then it progressed. We found out about this laboratory that was being built. That was in Milton Keynes. And then we, as I said, we got this list of the animal suppliers, and also we took action against up on the Wash in Lincolnshire. Every June there used to be a slaughter of baby seals. These fishermen would go out onto the sandbanks and kill the baby seals, and to get their fur. It was like an additional income for them. And it went on every year, and they had to have a license for it from the government. And the government always provided the license, and the hunt saboteurs have been out with inflatable dinghies trying to stop it. But it was very difficult. So we decided, right, we'll go and destroy their boats that they used. What they do is they go out in these fishing boats, small fishing boats, and then they launch inflatables from the fishing boats, go into the sandbanks and shoot the seals. So we attacked their two sort of mother boats, really. And one was badly damaged, one was destroyed, and they couldn't do the seal hunt. But also the government didn't issue the license, and the license has never been issued since. And I think the reason for that was what we did was the final straw. There'd been so much aggro, so much protests over this killing the seals, and then we went and damaged the boats. And I think the government thought, oh, well, this is too much aggro. We're not going to give the license anymore. So that actually stopped. It's never happened since. So that was like an early success. And then the inevitable happened. A couple of us got arrested, and I ended up getting a 3-year prison sentence. That was in 1975. And I was in prison for a year. I got released after a year. And it was after I was released, this would be 1976, the Band of Mercy changed its name to the Animal Liberation Front, because there were a lot of people. I was surprised, because I thought, being put in prison is going to put people off. People aren't going to want to do the same thing, because they're going to be frightened of going to prison. But that kind of sort of wasn't the case, really. I was really surprised. The number of people coming up, it's like mostly young people, from the Hunt Sabs, coming up to me saying, I want to do that. How do I get involved in it? I thought, this is brilliant. There's always, people want to do it. And we changed the name to the Animal Liberation Front, because the Band of Mercy, well, it sounded a bit like a religious organisation, and it didn't say that the Animal Liberation Front was what it was all about. Animal liberation.
It means what it says, and it says what it means.
So we changed the name, and it kind of went from strength to strength, because we had a lot more people involved.
So the Animal Liberation Front was born the same year I was born, which is great.
Wow, yeah, that's 76, yeah. yeah.
That's
and because the ALF was very active, for quite a number of years, and was very successful. I mean, the main successes of the ALF were really against animal experiments, against fur trade. They were the big areas where it had a real impact on those industries.
had a massive impact, definitely. I mean, I don't remember it, but like I've watched footage and I've seen, films and stuff about the Animal Liberation Front since I've been vegan. And I think direct action is fantastic. I unfortunately can't get involved in direct action. I can't go into it now, but due to my husband's job, I just can't do it. So I'm trying to win the lottery so that he doesn't have to work and then I can do direct action because I'm desperate to do it. I think things like, the Animal Liberation Front doing what they did and Meet the Victims doing what they do now as well. I think it's great because it brings it to, the forefront of people's minds when they have to face it. It forces people to face it.
Yeah. Things are very different now. Things are very different now in quite a number of ways.
Yeah.
Like I said, just in practical terms, because security, I mean, it was, the ALF was unlike the kind of, wasn't like the open rescues. It wasn't like Meet the Victims or anything like that. No. We wanted to get away. We didn't want to get caught.
Yeah, you wanted to get
because
away.
our aim was, our aim was to cause the damage. Because it kind of changed from, at first it was like we kind of do minimum damage to stop them doing what they're doing. That was the philosophy at the beginning, and then it changed to like you do maximum damage to cause them economic loss, try and put them out of business. And so that kind of thinking about the damage changed as time went on. But the chances of getting caught now, for anyone doing that sort of thing, are massively greater. I mean, they got these cameras on the roads that can track you wherever you go, number plate recognition, all that stuff.
Yeah.
CCTVs everywhere. I remember one night that myself and a friend, I was driving the car, she had a catapult. We went to damage a car belonging to a guy that owned a slaughterhouse. And we went from one part of London right out to the outskirts of London to damage his car and come back again. And on the way there and back, we smashed 86 windows, with his catapult, because they were like fishmongers, butcher shops. I think there was McDonald's, burger bars, I'm not sure. There was McDonald's in those days. Gun shops, all sorts, whatever, anything connected with, the oppression of other animals that had a stone through the window, all the way. And then we damaged the car and came back. It was 86. And then at the other end, sort of near home, there was a butcher's van and we smashed that up, So, and all that. But now you do one and you get caught because of CCTV. You'd never be able to do anything like that. Never. And there'd probably be CCTV on the guy's house as well. Yeah. So, that kind of thing, you just couldn't do it now.
No.
And that's kind of one reason I think why it's so much more difficult to do that type of action, and why kind of, the nature of direct action's changed, and people are doing things where they're kind of being caught is kind of part of it. And so what they're doing isn't really that serious. I mean, you're not going to get years in prison for doing an open rescue. No. For instance, if get anything at all. So it's kind of different now. And that's just kind of one reason why things have changed and why things have had to change in terms of tactics.
Definitely. But I think it's important for activists out there to know that the ALF is like, apart from when you said the group from the RSPCA did direct action, you kind of were the big guys with regards to direct action. And I think we need to remember about our history. Like I said to you before we came on the stream, like I feel like a bit hypocritical having you on and talking about activism because I've only been active for 2 years and I've only been vegan for 3. But I just think that, it's great to celebrate all forms of activism, whether it's you guys back in the 70s or people like this amazing, is it Vegan Booty or something? I think she's brilliant what she's doing at the moment. Really exciting stuff, going into butchers and dressing, naked and painting herself up as a cow and stuff like that. And just, I think it's very.
I'm not aware of her. I don't think.
Oh, she's good. She's good.
Maybe I would try and do the same.
I would have if it was like 20 years ago, but not now.
I think that put people off going vegan if I did that.
But she's a very attractive girl, so she definitely gets away with it. But check her out. She's really exciting to watch. Like,
Yeah,
She just doesn't care, and she's been on the news a lot. And my brother-in-law lives near Perth, where she does her activism. And it's like, have you heard about this woman? He's not vegan. I was like, yeah, I've heard about her. She's amazing. I
yeah,
wish I
no,
was.
no, it's not someone I know about, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of,
Tash Peterson.
I think I think it's kind of also important. The other thing to do with the history of the movement, it's important to kind of people to understand sort of the progression of things and how
Yes.
things have changed,
Yeah.
and like the history of the whole movement for not just kind of animal rights and animal liberation, but kind of animal protection as well. Because that's kind of what it used to be.
Yeah.
Because before the 1970s, it's the idea of animal rights kind of only really arose in the 1970s. There's quite a lot of philosophical works about it. Tom Regan, wrote his book about animal rights, for instance. Richard Ryder coined the term speciesism.
Yeah.
A book called Victims of Science once again in the 70s. This was the big period when that kind of all arose. It was when the ALF began as well. The 70s were like a really, really kind of time of change and time of radicalization for the whole movement to kind of sort of protect animals, shall we say. But prior to that, what you kind of had was national organisations. Yeah, national organisations, like League Against Cruel Sports and the anti-vivisection organisations, anti-zoos and circuses and the fur trade and all that. And what they tend to be was you didn't have local activism. You had these kind of centralised national organisations, and basically what they wanted their members to do was send them money and kind of maybe write to the MP. They weren't encouraging their members to do any activism.
Yeah.
And really, almost exclusively, the people that ran these organisations, they weren't even vegetarian; they were meat eaters. Because no one campaigned for veganism. There was a vegan society. The vegan society kind of existed to kind of help people individually become vegan, or just kind of be a group that was there for vegans. They weren't a campaigning group.
Yeah.
And so that was the situation up until the Hunt Sabs began in the 60s. Started taking direct action against Hunt. But apart from that, it's kind of all the 70s when the idea of animal rights arose, when veganism started to kind of, to get bigger. A lot more people kind of became vegan. Because, and what tended to happen was people tend to become activists. In other words, like got involved in the Hunt Sabs, got involved in like different protests, against vivisection, the fur trade, or whatever. And because there were vegans already involved in those things, those people rubbed shoulders with vegans, and then they became vegan. And that's kind of how people. But nobody campaigned for veganism. And then what happened was vegans began taking over these national organisations, and some of the national organisations kind of became sort of more radical in their approach. Like, for instance, one of the main anti-vivisection organisations, the BUAV, which is now, I think, called Cruelty Free International.
Okay.
They became totally taken over by vegans and became like sort of, really quite supportive of the Animal Liberation Front in their magazine. And, these organisations did become more radical, and they started organising big protests, big demonstrations. That's when the big World Day marches occurred. And now when there's World Day for animals in laboratories, you get maybe 500 or 600 people on a march. In those days, you go back to those days, in the 1980s, you had 10,000, 20,000 people on these marches.
Wow.
Like huge, because they get all their members, all these national organisations. You see, now it isn't organised by national anti-vivisection groups. It's organised by kind of local groups.
Yeah.
Now, But when the Nationals organised it, they'd get all their members come, to this march and all that. And this was before the internet; it was all done by newsletters and stuff.
Yeah, they used to be like newspapers as well, didn't they?
Yeah, magazines,
ads in newspapers, and magazines. Yeah,
yeah, monthly magazines, and come on this. You wonder how anything happened at all. Really, when you didn't have the internet, how did anyone do anything? But they did, and these great big things. So they kind of. It wasn't so much they didn't so much encourage local activism, the national groups, but they encouraged people to come on these big demos and stuff, and they got large numbers of people.
Yeah.
And then and that was that was the situation. So it was kind of that although these organisations, the people that took over these organisations and are now running them, and this includes like the League Against Cruel Sports, everything, were mostly vegan. The pattern remained the same. The pattern of campaigning against these, what people might term single issues, stayed the same. The movement became radicalised in one way, but not in another.
Yeah.
You see, no one campaigned for the fundamental, because why have we got animal experimentation? Why have we got the fur trade? Why have we got hunting? What underlies that? What's the basic problem? What is the basic cause? Basic cause of it is speciesism, isn't it? Human
exactly. Yeah.
You have to challenge that. You have to challenge that. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're kind of, these are symptoms of an underlying illness.
Exactly.
And it's not wrong, to tackle the symptoms. It's not wrong for people to go out against these things at all. I mean, it's like sometimes you've got a headache, you have to take a painkiller. But really, unless you look into what's causing me to have the headache, you're going to have a headache on and on and on, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you've got to kind of go to the root cause of it. The root cause of it is speciesism. That's the root cause of it. People's attitudes, people's human supremacist attitudes towards other animals. That's what has to be changed.
I agree with you 100%.
That can only be changed by vegan education, educating people, like proper vegan education. Not just veganism. Isn't a diet.
No,
the diet's part of it.
Exactly. I had this argument. It really frustrates me when people just go on about the food all the time, and it's not just about the food. Yeah, of course that is part of it, but there's so many other things. Like I haven't, I've only been vegan for 3.5 years, but I haven't used animal tested products since I was in my teens. I've always tried to have cruelty free, and I've always been against animal testing. So, it's you've got to cover everything. It's not just.
It's a philosophy. Veganism is a philosophy of animal liberation.
Yes,
and it always has been. It always has been, because how do we determine what veganism should be? How do we determine what veganism should be? Is to look back at the people who founded veganism. You go back to the 1940s, the vegans, people who founded the Vegan Society. Leslie Cross, who coined the definition of veganism. People say a guy called Donald Watson coined the name vegan, and it was either he or his wife that did that. But the person who did the first definition of veganism was Leslie Cross, and Leslie Cross was an animal rights guy. He believed in animal liberation. He said that the veganism kind of followed on from the campaign against the slave trade. It was like part of this same continuum. It was like a liberation movement.
Yes.
These people were animal liberationists. It wasn't just the diet. The diet was a big part of it, but it was right from the beginning of the vegan movement. Veganism was about animal liberation. And what we've got this kind of attempt now to make it just into a diet. I mean, for instance, I read there's a group called Vegan Conservatives, that's been set up.
I heard about that today.
10 Conservative MPs that said we're going to do veganuary, and kind of amazingly, our local MP where I live is one of them. But the guy goes shooting. The guy supports the HS2. The guy supports nuclear weapons. The guy, kind of is, supports animal experiments. He's not a vegan. What are you talking about? He's just going to eat a plant-based diet for a month. So don't call them vegan conservatives. They're not vegans. The word's been stolen. It's been stolen from us. Veganism equals animal liberation, and to be a vegan is to believe in animal liberation. If you don't, you're just a plant eater. And
Yeah.
let's make that clear. Let's not have that stolen, have it watered down.
Muddied waters. I mean, it's
it always has been right from the beginning. Although there have been different definitions of veganism, and that's fine, because like kind of how we look at things and language changes over time, doesn't it? And so, how you express what veganism is. Oh, there's Misty.
Yeah. I've locked mine out. I've locked mine out. If Lord Vader comes in here, I won't get rid of him. And he's so vocal, bless him.
No.
We won't get a word in edgeways.
She wants to star in a movie. She was hijacked by.
What's her name?
Video. Misty.
Oh, my mum's cat's called Misty.
Yeah. She's even in a picture in my biography. She kind of hijacked that as well. You'll be discovered one day.
So a friend of mine, Paul Yude, is actually watching today. I did an interview with Paul, and Paul's one of the first activists that I met on like my second ever event, I think. And he said that he didn't become vegan until he became an activist. That's when he considers himself vegan. So, and don't worry about being late, Paul. But he's amazing.
It's also, you see, if you look back at the kind of sort of definitions of veganism, that there is kind of like all part of it. It is to do with activism, because they're talking about encouraging and advocating. These two words used, like by the early vegans.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't about just being passive, just passively like eating vegan food and cake and not doing anything. It includes activism.
Doing something, yeah.
It's not just a kind of movement of abstaining from stuff. That's the spirit of it. That's the kind of, that is the spirit of the founders of veganism. And if we kind of want to, define what veganism is, we have to go back to the people that kind of invented it in the first place, don't we?
Definitely. I think my latest video has really pissed some people off, because I've just basically gone on a rant and called out non-active vegans and said, "What are you doing?" But I don't care. I want to make them angry. It's like I want to get them like a fire in their belly and make them feel guilty and go out and do something, whether it's flyering or stickering or chalking, or you're doing a street outreach, or
people don't have to do. There's something for everyone.
Yes.
I mean, one thing we do a lot locally, and it's about the only thing we've kind of been able to really, because of COVID, is door dropping, delivering leaflets. Going around putting leaflets through. Now, what could be easier than that? What could be easier than as long as you've got a stick to push the leaflet through so you don't get bitten by a dog, Well, I learned that to my cost a few times. The barking dogs are all right. It's the ones that you get, these that wait silently, don't they, by the door all day,
quiet ones,
the quiet ones, and they have you then,
Yeah.
And so, and anyone can do that. If someone can walk along and hold leaflets in their hand, they can put a leaflet through someone's letterbox.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's one that my friend Mippy said about writing messages on pieces of paper, folding it up and putting it in the car windscreen. There's nothing to stop you from doing that with leaflets either. You could put them in the car windscreen as well as
you can.
few people's letterbox.
I do. There's one thing I do. I mean, Animal Aid have got a leaflet that's why eat one and love the other, and there's a puppy and a piglet, and it's about saying, they're the same really. So why our attitude's different. And what I do, I whenever I'm out and about, which hasn't been very much recently, because of the COVID, but in normal circumstances, in my bag I've got this kind of selection of different leaflets and booklets. See, and if I see a card that's got one of these stickers saying the dog is for life, not just for Christmas, or support the sanctuary, or thing like that, I'll get one of these leaflets out under the windscreen wiper. Yeah. So they make the connection, stuff like that. And like in the supermarket, I'll put leaflets in relevant magazines,
I do that.
And stuff. But there's a little bit of a tip for doing that. Don't do it. Don't just go to the magazine place and put the leaflets in, because otherwise you'd be caught. What you do is you select different magazines, put them in your trolley, find a blind spot in the supermarket where there's no cameras, because in our supermarket where I go, it's like where the blind spot is by the baked beans. So I know, by the baked bean. It would be, wouldn't it? And then do it all there, and then go back to the magazine place and put them back. And that's the way to do it, to avoid, being caught. A little tip.
That's
Magtivism. I call it magtivism. That is putting it in. And that because that's something that people like, for instance, magazines like our dog, our dog, our cat, or whatever, for the sort of so-called dog cat lovers, those things, people that already care about some animals, put leaflets in there. Vegetarian cooking magazines, I'll put vegan leaflets in those. The horse racing ones, like Racing Post and that, I'll put in some of the anti-horse racing, because I think some people just go bet on horses. They don't know what goes on. I don't think they're necessarily all,
No, I've got family members that will defend horse racing to the hills, but
they think the horses love it. They love running around the track, and they love being shot. So it's these things you can do that. Everyone could do something, but the thing, putting the leaflets through the door, pretty much anyone could do that. Or if you're on public transport, leave them on seats. In the library, put them in books, and leave them on public places. There's loads of stuff people can do.
And you don't have to talk to anyone. You just leave it there.
If you don't want to, or help at a stall. I mean, we do. We haven't really this year's. Well, last year, apart from at the very beginning, but we do. I mean, a local vegan group in 2019, we did over 100 events, different things, and including like organised door drops, but we did quite a lot of stalls and that. And what we say to people, look, come along and help at the stall. You don't have to speak to anyone. Just watch. Just be there and just watch what we do. And what you find is people do that, and then they kind of learn from what the more experienced people are doing, and then they'll kind of gradually get involved. And then some of them are really, really good, once they get the confidence. And so, everyone can do these things. It's not like you're not kind of expecting people to put on a balaclava and go charging in somewhere and smash stuff up and that. You don't, that's not what you're asking people to do. And in fact, it could be argued that some of the more quiet actions are just as effective if what your aim is to educate people, because that's what it's all about. You have to change the attitudes of ordinary people. That's fine. That's utterly important. And I think that one of the problems with the like say with the ALF was that the ALF's campaign was like a direct war against the people who oppressed animals. We were attacking the hunt kennels, we were attacking the laboratories and places like that. The public weren't involved in it at all. The public were just on the sidelines, didn't involve the public. But the by far the largest forms of kind of oppression of animals involve the public. I think we know what's the biggest area in which animals are oppressed, and I think we can easily say it's the consumption of animal products.
Yeah.
I think every second of every day, 50,000 animals.
It's something ridiculous. I mean,
it's huge. It's massive. It's 8 billion a year in this country. 8 billion a year in this country.
And that's not even counting the fish, because they can't be counted. They're in weight, aren't they?
The fish they tend to, but out of the 8 billion, 7 billion are fish and sea creatures. 7 billion. It's huge. And it always makes me laugh when people become a pescatarian. They go, I'm really great, I've become a pescatarian. And I go, well, no, actually, you're worse now, because more animals are dying now. You're a pescatarian.
Yeah.
You're eating more creatures are dying, and they've been killed horrifically, or they've been raised in some terrible factory farm, fish farm place.
They're suffocated.
They're suffocated, or they're dragged up. And people think, it's progress. It isn't progress to be a pescatarian. Just go vegan. What's the matter with you? You know what I mean? And,
I wish I'd done it years ago. I really do. But I'm so lucky.
Everyone I wish that. I wish that. When I'm asked, what would you change? like the first thing I say is I wish I'd become vegan earlier. Everyone wishes that, but we can't do anything about that. All we can do is once we are vegan, think, right, okay, I need to. How do I spread the message? How do I
And
get?
this is what I feel like now. I feel like I'm making up for 40 years of abusing animals by getting out there and doing something. And like you were saying earlier about having someone at the table and they were just listening. That happened to me. I did a street activism event and I just stood there holding the screen, didn't want to talk, and I heard the conversations and I thought I could have said that. I know that. So I just got out there and did it.
It happened to me. It happened to me because like I said, we had no contact with the public. We didn't really want to know the public. It's nothing to do with the public. We just smashed these industries, right? But of course, like, you know, the biggest industry is the food industry in terms of the oppression of other animals. The other real biggie is environment, is human impact, adverse impact on the environment, and you know, the biggest one is the climate crisis.
Because of animals going extinct.
I mean, that's caused by human activity. You know, a lot of it obviously is animal farming. You know, that contributes hugely to global heating. But it's not just animal farming; it's fossil fuels and industry and overproduction, overconsumption, and you know, all these things. You know. And that's kind of, you know, a lot of that's lifestyle, you know, change our lifestyle so we don't make the impact, you know, so much, you know. And I mean, I definitely needs government action as well on a lot of these things because we're trapped in a system and we, you know, sometimes you can only do so much with lifestyles because you're trapped in that system. You need to change the system. But once again, that's back to individual people as well because, like, how do you change the system, right? You know, why have we got Boris Johnson? You know, why did they have Donald Trump in the USA? Those people didn't just come down from the sky by magic and assume power. They were voted in. You know, around about 30% of people eligible to voted for Boris Johnson. That's why he's bumbling around as the Prime Minister. You know, that's ordinary people with wrong attitudes voted these people in. And unless we change the attitudes of ordinary people, that's going to happen forever. You know, it's down to the grassroots changing the hearts and minds of ordinary people, and that's education. It's education, education, education. That is how we change the world. That is the most radical thing that you can do.
Yeah,
I'm all for. You know, I say that anyone that's doing anything to protect animals, I think great. That's wonderful. There's so many people that aren't doing anything.
So many
people that aren't vegan. There's so many vegans that aren't active. Anyone that does anything that's rescue, Hunt Sabs, anything, brilliant. You know, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'd say is that, that's great. But unless we have loads of education, we're not going to cure the disease. You know, these things are symptoms. You know, animals that need to be taken out of a pound, you know, foxes that need to be, you know, protected from hunts, all these things. The reason that goes on is a symptom of a kind of sort of more fundamental disease, which is speciesism. You know, we have to cure that disease, and we cure that through vegan education, and that's why vegan education is so important. And like every vegan can do it, every vegan can do something, and we need to, because, like, you know, like most people that are vegan, well, you can only really be vegan for animal liberation. You know, people that say they're vegan for the environment or health, they're not vegan, they're plant eaters. Veganism is a philosophy of animal liberation.
Yeah.
And so, you know, anyone that's like vegan, you know, they're doing it because, you know, they don't want to see the animals slaughtered.
No, they want to stop and they want to fight for it.
Well, the thing is, then, great that they're not doing it, but what about all the other people that are doing it? You've got to stop them. We've got to stop them. We've got to stop them.
Exactly.
And you stop them in two ways. Stop them in two ways. You educate them. I mean, I prefer somebody, you know, stopped being involved in the oppression of other animals because they wanted to, because they realised it was wrong and they said, "Well, I'm not doing that anymore." Right? Okay, that's the best way. But like, if they don't want to, create a situation where they can't do it anyway. Create a situation where you've got laws to stop them.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You have to have the right people in Parliament. How do you have the right people in Parliament? You have to vote them in. How do you vote them in? By changing people's attitudes so they write the right person. So once again, that's education as well. Education covers both of those areas, and it's kind of so vitally important. And going back to how the movement's changed, that this business of people sort of just campaigning on the single issues, that kind of went on. That only really changed about 20 years ago or so, when the vegan education, vegan outreach, vegan fairs started, and people started, actually campaigning for veganism. And that's a very recent thing in the whole history of the animal rights movement, the animal protection movement. Campaigning for veganism is a really, really recent thing. It's very, very new, in historical terms, and it's vitally important. And it's vitally important that we increase it as much as possible, because if you look at vegan outreach, you look at where it occurs. It mainly occurs in the centre of big cities. People go to the centre of big cities, they do a cube or they do some big event or something, and that's brilliant, great. It's brilliant that people are doing that. But what about all the loads and loads of places where there's nothing? All the smaller cities, the smaller towns, the suburbs of cities where there's nothing happens, right? And so we need to make that happen. And we obviously need more activists. We need more vegans to become activists.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that it doesn't matter how many people want to be activists. They can't be active unless there's something for them to
Something
be active.
for them to do. Yeah. That's why
And so you have to have the most important thing is organisers. We have to have more organisers. We have to have people organising vegan outreach in every city, in every town, in every suburb of every city. I mean, I'd like eventually every village, every area, So we go down and down and down into the community, spreading that message. So we reach everyone, and we reach everyone repeatedly. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat that message, right? And that means we need people to be organised. And I think people that go in, people go into big cities to do these actions that kind of go in from, the surrounding area. A lot of them are going from towns where nothing happens. Well, I'd say to them, I'm not saying to not go to the big city, but have a think about what exactly you can do where you live. What can I organise where I live? And even if you just get together with just another vegan and you go around door dropping leaflets, or you do a street stall somewhere with people, or you do a stall at, street stalls are great, but with stalls we need to think about other places we can do stalls. I mean, our local group, we do stalls in libraries. We have a couple of greener living fairs, environmental events every year. We do stalls there. We do stalls at dog rescue events, where they do a fundraising thing in the park. We do stalls there. We do stalls at health events, wherever we can get in. Because the thing about like veganism is that it's kind of, like I say, you can only really be vegan for the animals, but certainly like a plant-based diet, it's kind of better for the environment. It's better for health. So it means that a vegan group can get in. You can kind of do stalls at these events, environmental event. It's kind of relevant, and it's relevant at health events, and you can get in there. And once you're in there, you can spread the vegan for the animals message. Once you've got you've got the stall there. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
So people need to be thinking about not just going in the street. And like some places, it's not so easy to go in the street. Like in a big city, you could do a big spectacular event in the middle, and you could have inflatable animals, and it's brilliant, But in a lot of places, like if we had an inflatable animal, we've got two smaller towns and like a medium-sized town in the area that our group operates. In the biggest town, if you had an inflatable cow, they'd be able to get past because there's no room.
This is the thing. We did something similar with the vegan matrix in Glastonbury, and it's Glastonbury's a small town, it's full of tourists all the time as well. So it's a great place to be in, and also it's got narrow streets and narrow roads, and there's nowhere to move. So yeah, that's a great little place to do activism, and Taunton as well, where Paul does his activism. That's a small town.
Yeah, you can do stuff in small towns. I mean, you kind of have to kind of tailor your activism to the geography, really. and in some places you can't do big scale things because there just isn't the room there to do it, and so you're kind of looking at other ways of doing it. But like everyone, think about like not just street stalls, think of stalls at community events, carnivals where they'll have a load of stalls in a park, all these things. And sometimes you've got to pay a little bit of money, it might be 15 quid or something to have the stall. But like think about these other community events. So you kind of become part of the community, a presence in the community. So you constantly have this education effect within the local community. And we kind of don't really do that. A lot of vegan things seem to be a bit hit and run. Go in the big city, in the middle of the big city, do the event, and that's great. But then that's the end. That's it. That's the end. There's no sort of connection with the place. It's like a community thing, like a group
that's what we're
based on a community. And it's
one of the things I'm starting to do in Bristol is we're going to be doing beach cleans, and we're going to be doing litter picks, and we're going to be feeding the homeless and doing things like that as well. And it'll hopefully build up a community of more vegans coming in, that they'll meet other activists and maybe be inspired to do other things. But you're right, we definitely need more organisers, and you don't need much to organise a leaflet drop. You just need like a little post on Facebook. I'm going to do a leaflet drop. Invite some people on your local vegan pages, because there are vegan pages for every city and town in the country.
There's loads of vegan groups, but most of them, sadly, aren't active. But someone involved in one of those groups on like Facebook could do exactly what you've said.
Yeah,
and don't be disappointed if not many people come, because they're not going to. First of all. You might get one other person, and the thing about like if you're organising a leaflet drop, you can say I'm going to be at such and such a place at such and such a time. You're doing your Facebook event for it, and say I'm going to be delivering leaflets. Come along, meet me, and help me. Well, if other people turn up, that's brilliant. That's what you really want. If they don't, you can still go off and do them yourself. You can still go off and spread the message yourself, and so it's not a complete waste of time that you've kind of got the leaflets and gone there. And I think that's the thing. I think that kind of whether we're going to ever have huge numbers, I kind of don't know. We need more people to become active. We need more people to become organisers. But there's a hell of a lot, just a small number of people, a small number of very active people. In fact, I think that's how the world's changed, and probably how it's ever been changed. It's not by loads of people. It's by small numbers of people that are very committed and very active.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of what you need, this, regular action.
I'm just going to acknowledge some people in the chat. I am seeing your questions. I've got a couple more questions to ask, Ronnie, and then I promise you I will ask your questions, so I'm not ignoring you. Right, just to let you know. So how do you fit your activism into your life currently? So I don't know if you're still at work or
no. I mean, I've been retired for quite a few years. Basically at the moment, because my wife Louise has got chest problems, I'm having to be very careful, with the COVID. So I'm doing. Normally I'm out all the time doing stuff, but sort of since the COVID thing, I've kind of been more organising stuff behind the scenes and kind of getting leaflets and organising, door drops that for other people could do and get the leaflets to them. And we've been doing a lot of advertising on social media. We do videos, I create the videos, and we put them out on Facebook and Instagram. You have to pay, but it's a really effective way of like reaching non-vegans, because you can stipulate that it's posted in your local area. You can set a radius where these things get they go on people's Facebook feeds, and they go on the Instagram. And it's a bit complicated to get set up, because if you want to just advertise a product that you're selling, it's easy, you just do it. If you're advertising on what they consider to be a political or a social issue, you've got to get verified. It means I had to scan in my driving licence. They had to send me a code to where I live, and then I had to type it in, and it was all this is complicated. But once you've been through that and you get verified, then then you're up and running. And then it was a question really of us working out what was the best way of doing it, what kind of was the best, how do we do these adverts, and what are the ones that people are most likely to look at. Because what you're trying to do really is get people to visit a website where they learn about veganism.
Yeah.
And so we kind of discovered that the best way of doing it was short videos. You do a short video and it's got a link to a website. And so being used, and when we're doing Veganuary now, we've done three Veganuary ones, and we're going to do, 2 or 3 more, this month, to get people to go to the Veganuary website and kind of, sign up for that. And like, the take up rate it's probably it costs between 15p and 30p a person to go to the website. And really that's pretty good, to be honest, I think.
That's good.
And obviously it costs money. We spend on each advertising campaign we spend 30 quid. We luckily last year we raised quite a lot of money. We did car boot sales and stuff like that. So we had this kind of, we had some, money in the bank, and then that kind of almost all disappeared. But thankfully we had a couple of donations that's kind of built it up again.
Yeah.
And we're hoping for a grant from Veg Fund, actually, because Veg Fund now will cover online stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that can do, and so few groups seem to be thinking of doing this, and yet a great way. I mean, the thing is, it's good to put stuff on social media, but I think the problem is there was a lot of vegans, like nearly all their friends are vegan.
Yeah.
So you're just preaching to the converted. I mean, if someone's a new vegan and they got lots of non-vegan friends, they put stuff on social media, then that's hopefully going to
I've had a mixed reaction on my social media from the non-vegans. Some of them have gone vegan, some of them have blocked me, some of them have deleted me. I like putting a non-vegan post on every so often to see who's still watching. And they're still looking at my feed.
I think there's ways of doing it. I think there's kind of certain kind of rules, I suppose you could say, if someone, if you're trying to get through to non-vegan friends. I think one is don't post anything graphic, because they'll straight away block you. They won't want to see it. Don't post stuff and intersperse it with like ordinary shit. You know, about
that's what I do. Exactly what I do.
And so people will, they won't block you because they want to learn about what you've got at the shops, or I don't know, something. And I mean, I don't use Facebook for personal things at all. But then I'm in a different position. I'm in a different position because I haven't really got any non-vegan friends, or hardly any friends, because I've been so long.
I'm getting that way. I've got my vegan friends is very much outnumbering my non-vegan.
And all the other ones, are gone. They've disappeared right away.
I mean that will happen. A lot of them, but it's fine. I don't mind. I love spending time with my non-vegan friends as well. And I have been banned by my husband from talking about veganism with friends and family now. He is vegan, by the way. But he is vegan. I told him I wanted to go vegan. He went, "I'll do it with you." That was it. I didn't even have to convince him. It was great. But so I do talk about it though. If they ask me a question, I say to them, they've asked me. I'm not. What am I going to do?
I mean, that's right. But I think that you kind of. It's important to sort of try and understand how people operate psychologically, and I think people have to think that it's they that's made the decision. Yeah,
well, Socrates said people believe what they say, not what they're told, right?
Yes. So basically, what you have to do is provide people with the information whereby they can make their own decision. Because if people feel that you're pressurizing them, they'll react. They'll go the other way. So what you've got to do is just provide the information, and then there you are. There's the information. I've told you that, and I'm not going to badger you or anything like that and go on at you. You've got that information. Now you look at it and make your own decision, because that's the only way it's going to work with people. And I think there is a danger sometimes of like having the opposite effect. If you badger people too much, they go the other way, that they put up resistance. And so it's like a tactical thing that you've got to kind of pitch it about right with people in terms. I mean, I made the mistake with my parents. I mean, like people say that, when they become vegan, they were given a hard time, by their family. but I was the other way around. I gave my family a hard time for not being vegan. I constantly went on at them all the time.
Oh, I did. I don't
probably
anymore.
I think probably it wasn't a good idea, because it made them go the other way. And had I been not so much like that, it may have been, it kind of may have been more successful,
I have learned very quickly. I mean, I have not had not all my family. Some of my family are fantastic. None of my family are vegan, but some of them are really supportive, but some of them aren't so much. And when I spoke to one family member after the Animal Rights March in Bristol, they said, "Oh, I saw you on the TV being interviewed about the march." I said, "Oh, how did I come across? Did I come across honest? Or, was it shit?" And they said, you look tired. And I was like, great, thanks. That's
yeah, that's the most important thing. It don't matter what you said, you just look tired.
You look tired. Yeah.
That's what
I was tired because I hardly slept that night because I was nervous about it. But yeah, I've given up talking about it to my family now. Some of my family watch my videos though, which is great, and I'm hopeful. I mean, none of my videos aren't aimed at getting people to go vegan. They're aimed at getting vegans to go active, so it's a different.
Yeah, that's how I tend to be like that on social media, because I know that like I'm talking to vegans. So there's no point in kind of. I'll ask sometimes people to share a thing, on their own Facebook that promotes veganism, and I suppose particularly if people have got non-vegan friends, that's gonna be good. But because I know that like nearly all my friends are vegan, I know I'm speaking to vegans, so there's no point in trying to get them to go vegan when they're vegan already. What I'm trying to do is kind of is get them to go active, get them to become organisers. That's kind of what I do. That's what I do as well, because that's the audience. But I think it kind of is important that we sort of understand, how people work. If we're going to change people, we've got to understand how they operate. It's like if you're going to repair something, you've got to understand it works. You're not going to be able to do it, And it's the same with people. We've got to understand a little bit about psychology with them, and what's likely to work, what isn't likely to work. And I think that the other thing is that to remember that we don't have to change everyone. We don't have to change everyone. It's easy to get despondent and think that, we're at this stall and all these people are walking past and someone shouts bacon and,
I'm going to go get a KFC.
The
vegan one.
Shout bacon, and we had a bloke shout B12. He shouted B12.
Did he?
I thought, why is he shouting B12? Is he got some sort of vitamin Tourette's? He'll be going in Tesco shouting, niacin or something. I don't know. He shouted B12 and.
That's probably the worst news I ever get.
Or there's the teeth. People point at the teeth and they go,
I've had people stood in front of me when I've been holding the screen and behind the mask, and they've been eating chicken wings in front of me, and it's like, do you know what? I don't care. I'm hoping it's showing you the chicken bit right now, and you can see that.
But you see, often you sort of like, probably the people that worry me most are the ones that take no notice at all, because if someone reacts in that way, it says to me they feel guilty. Why have they reacted? But it's like when you put something on like our adverts. I mean, we like it. We sometimes get like, comments on the ads. Oh, I like a bacon sandwich, or like that, and someone posts a picture of meat or something. But I'm kind of quite pleased that they do that, because I think, well, at least they're reaching non-vegans, and that's touched a nerve.
Yes.
Because if you're not bothered, if you're not bothered and you're comfortable in your non-vegan life, you're not going to really respond, are you? It's not relevant to you. You're not going to. Why would you post a comment? And I think what's happened, you've touched a nerve. You made them feel guilty. And if someone feels guilty, that's the first step, isn't it? It might be a long road, but isn't it that first step that they do feel uncomfortable? You've made them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You see. And so I was
like that. I remember having an argument with a vegan friend about cows needed to be milked, and I tagged a vegetarian friend in a bleeding burger. There used to be a barbecue festival in Bristol, and I used to go to it, and I'd take a photo of my burger that was just oozing disgusting juice now, but at the time, and I just tagged my vegetarian friend in it, because they've obviously, sown some seeds in me at some point that has made me defensive, and I've done that, and now they're still vegetarian and I'm a vegan activist.
But you see, so that's an example, isn't it? And so, and I think so. We kind of need to understand that, and like also need to understand that often with people, they need repeated exposure to the message that they're not going to go vegan the first time they see a leaflet or they see a poster or see a video, because this is how the advertising industry works, isn't it? That you'll see an advert for the same thing. It'll be on social media, it'll be on the TV, it'll be on the radio, it'll be in a poster, it'll be in the newspaper, it'll be maybe on the leaflet through the door, because they know that this repeated exposure eventually, certainly with some people, works. You see, and that's why they wouldn't be spending these millions of pounds on advertising if that didn't work. And it's the same with veganism. It's the same with this repeated exposure to the message in different ways for people, that eventually, someone will say, all right, well, I will read that. I will read that. I've had this is the 5th leaflet I've had through the door. Oh, I'll have a look at this one. And that is,
exactly.
That's I think that's how people operate. And we need to know
and it's there might be someone that I talk to that gets it from me, but then I could talk to somebody else that might be better talking to you about it. It depends on how different people relate differently to different people, don't they? So
I think that's true. I think the other thing is that we don't have to. We can't be naive that even if we're going to change everyone.
Yeah, no,
we don't need to change everyone. If Boris Johnson could be elected by less than 30% of the electorate, we can have a vegan government elected with less than 30%. And once we're in there, boy, we can kick some ass, can't we? And whether you like it or not, you're not vegan but you're going to eat a plant diet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. We just have to kind of and like all you're asking people to do with that. It's like, all right, it's kind of really difficult to get like people to be active. Right, but like, say you've got a vegan candidate standing who's going to go and going to do all these great things for animals, right? All you need is enough people to go in the ballot box and put the cross in the right box. That's all they've got to do, and just go back and just carry on eating cake. As long as they go and they put that cross, and then that person then has got that ability to have a real big influence. And so this is the thing, that this is this 30% isn't like activists. It's just people voting the right way.
Yeah,
it takes very little effort, and so we don't have to change everyone in order for us to be the people that call the shots, because we've got to call the shots. Because this is the thing. I think this is another problem with our movement. It's like we've sort of got a rebel psychology. And of course you see this now with Extinction Rebellion and Animal Rebellion. It's about rebellion. We're rebelling against authority, and that's fine. I mean, if you're faced with tyranny, if you've got tyranny and authority, then it's your duty to rebel. But rebels never change anything, really. You only change something if you're in charge.
Yeah,
it's not enough to be a rebel. We've got to go beyond rebellion. We've got to be the people in charge. We've got to be people that lay down the law. We've got to be the people that call the shots.
Yeah.
In this eternal rebel, the eternal rebel, the eternal, in that eternal position of being the ones that are downtrodden and all that. We've got to find our way out of that. We've got to find our way to be that we're in charge now. You're going to do what we say. You're not going to oppress animals. If you do, your feet aren't going to touch the ground. This is what we need to aim for. Rebellion is not enough. Rebellion is not enough. And so, and if you're going to set out your stall to go from rebellion into being the ones in charge, then you have to go about it in a way which makes that possible. Yeah. And that means, vegans elected, we've got to get vegans into politics. Because if we constantly...
Oh, you've frozen, Ronnie.
Oh, there we are. I'm back.
You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah. You're back.
This is exactly what, say, the Tories want. They want us not to vote because if we don't vote, we're in again. You know, all these radical people didn't vote, and like, you know, this is the thing. You know, we have to kind of enter into that, and we have to, you know, be realistic about how everything operates. You know, and you know, we have to be the ones that we have to control. We have to control the country. We have to control the world. You know, and we have to, you know, say what goes, and we have to put in place a vegan human society. You know, and public education is like vital for that in order to kind of make that happen, as well as changing people's lifestyles.
Definitely. What would you say to vegans out there that are watching this, that aren't active? What would you say to inspire them and encourage them to get active?
To ones that aren't active.
The ones that aren't active, yeah.
The ones that aren't active. Well, I'd say that it's like that. It's so vitally important because you see, the thing is that people tend to think.
Oh, Ronnie, we've got a complaint about your mic. Apparently, it's crackling and it's sore on the ears. Apparently.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Is that any better?
I think you were tapping it. Yeah, let's try that.
Yeah. It might be.
Yes. So back to the question.
It kind of waves about a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you see, the thing is that, like I said, that we see this kind of this big upsurge in veganism. Certainly, that, you know, there are a lot more people that are vegan now. Or certainly, a lot more people that are kind of consuming a vegan diet now. And everyone thinks, great, this is wonderful. You know, we're on the cusp of this great, you know, vegan revolution, whatever. But the reality is that in actual fact, the consumption of animal products is increasing and is constantly outstripping the rise in veganism. And two reasons for that is increasing the human population, and also where a lot of people, and this is, you know, kind of in other countries, in a lot of the Eastern countries, where a lot of people that previously ate a mainly plant-based diet are now more and more eating meat because they associate meat eating with, you know, status, and they're more able to afford it and all that. So in actual fact, things are still going in the wrong direction. You see, so we have to make even more of an effort just to kind of get it back to an even keel. You know, if we're going to create a situation where the rise in veganism outstrips the rise in the consumption of animal products, then we have to create a lot more vegans. And you only create more vegans by getting active, by getting out there, by spreading the information. You know.
Yeah.
And so if people want to, you know, because you see, just kind of being a passive vegan or a self-vegan. Got a friend called Tony Harris, Tony Tofu, and he's coined self-vegan for people that aren't activists, that are just vegan themselves. You know,
yeah,
it's probably a good word.
So non-action, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. The people that are in that category, they, you know, to have an idea, think, well, I've adopted a vegan diet, right? So, I'm good. I'm a good person. But the thing is, like, if I was to go round and say to people, you know, please pat me on the back. I didn't mug an old lady today.
Yeah.
Or please pat me on the back because I didn't molest a child today, and aren't I good? People think, well, what's the matter with you? That, you know, you're not good just because you should be doing that anyway. What are you talking about? You see?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, like, not consuming animal products is what people should be doing anyway. You know, of course you shouldn't. Should be what you're doing, eating animals when you don't need to, and causing them all that suffering. You shouldn't be eating them anyway. You know what I mean? It isn't. You're not being good. You're just being neutral. You're just not doing something that you shouldn't be doing anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're going to consider yourself good, if you're going to consider that you've actually sort of really made a positive influence on the world, then you have to be active as a vegan. Because the other thing that you've got to consider is like kind of, you know, I often say something that, you know, kind of vegans regard as quite controversial. In the other animals would probably be better off, undoubtedly be better off, if most people who consider themselves vegans were dead, right? And I know that sounds like, people go, what the hell are you talking about? And I'll explain what I mean by that. And the reason I say that is because all of us have an impact on the environment, right? And in our society that's kind of based on heavy consumption, production, carbon emissions and all, the harm that our, sort of Western, globally North society causes to the world, that kind of all of us, kind of just through being part of that society, we have a highly negative impact on the natural world, right? If we become vegan, if we consume a vegan diet, that becomes considerably less, but our impact is still negative. We're still negative. So if we weren't here, the animals would be better off, even though we are consuming a vegan diet. So how do you turn that around? How are you able to say, well, I've actually made a positive impact for animals? And the way you turn that round is by actually going out and educating people. And if you go out and you educate people to become vegan, you then can genuinely say, I can say that that I'm a good person.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, you're just neutral. That's kind of the reality. That like veganism is, being vegan is what we should be doing anyway.
Yeah. Being vegan's a non-action, and the moral obligation is to be active.
And please, people don't think it's like a big deal to be an activist. And like, I appreciate that people have got other things going on in their lives. People have got work commitments, they've got family commitments, and all sorts of stuff. There's all these things that before anyone does any activism, they've got to get through all these other things.
Yeah.
That's fine, and we all have that to a great lesser extent. But what I'd say to people is consider what time you have after that. Consider your spare time. What are you doing with your spare time? Are you sat in front of the telly? Are you on a computer game? Are you doing some other sort of kind of meaningless thing in your spare time, when you could be devoting some of that time to spreading veganism, even if you're only going out and putting leaflets through a few doors?
Even if you walk into whenever I walk to the shop, I've got a pack of stickers in my rucksack, and I just put stickers on the lamppost on the way to the shops. That's a simple thing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think I agree with everything you said there, 100%, and hopefully some people will go active. I know that people are desperate to ask questions, so I'll open the floor up. I'll open the floor up to some.
Is my mic okay now? I don't want to be.
It's still rattling a little bit. I don't know. I think it's when it touches your face, or is it touching the laptop or something? But it's all right.
It's not on the laptop.
I think it's only annoying people that have got headphones in, but they just have to listen to it again on loudspeaker. I don't give me the views. So do we have? Let's have a look. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask Ronnie? Because they've all gone to the top. So if you can ask them again, I'm really sorry for getting you to type out again. But if you can type out your question below, and then I can ask it to Ronnie. I think there was a question that I'm Easy Vegan asked about destroying butcher shops. That Ronnie did cover that earlier in the chat. So there's been so many comments, I can't scroll up. So I know Gail had a question. I think that Vegan Lynn might have had a question. She's new. Hello, Vegan Lynn.
Terry's I've just noticed a question from Terry.
Yeah.
He said, wish I could get some animal aid leaflets, but COVID is stopping them from sending them out. Well, the situation was I was able to get some leaflets made a while back, probably a couple of months ago. And the thing is, although it says on their website that they're no longer sending out leaflets, if you phone them up, they will send them out. And I don't know if that's something on the website that they've not taken down, unless the situation changed again. There was a time when they were sending them, but then they didn't change
froze again a minute.
The website. So if that's where that's coming, if that's where that's coming from, Terry, then try giving them a call.
Double check, and also check the Viva website as well, because you can print them off on there. And I know not everyone's his fan, but Joey Carbstrong's got leaflets, so if you've got a printer, you can print them off from there as well. So there are options available. Here we go. What do you think about pressure campaigns? Oh, have you frozen again, Ronnie?
I mean, well, there are. I'm leaving now. They're not. I mean, I'm not against pressure campaigns. I mean, once again, people are trying to do something. I think where you've got to kind of be sort of careful with pressure campaigns is kind of analysing, are they actually going to really have an effect? Like if you've got a pressure campaign that's aimed at closing a place down, then I think what you've got to look at is what is going to be the real effect if that place closes down. You see, and to give an example, I'll kind of go back to, for instance, there's some people, in the chat, you probably remember the Shack campaign. The Shack campaign operated in the sort of 90s and the early 2000s, and Stop Hunting Animal Cruelty was targeted at the Huntingdon Life Sciences. But kind of before that same group of people, they targeted places that bred animals for experiments, and they were very, very successful in closing those places down. I think they managed to close down a couple of places that bred beagles, and they closed a place down that bred cats. Right? And everyone thought, "Oh, this is brilliant! This is marvelous! All these animals have been saved." But were any animals really saved? Because if the demand for animal experiments remained the same, and the laboratories still wanted animals for their experiments, what they would be doing is just getting the animals from another place.
Yeah.
You see? So this is the thing. This is where you've got to be very careful with attacking what I call the supply side, because there's supply and demand, isn't there? So what's happening is vegan education is attacking the demand side. We're stopping the demand. Right? Yes. But if you cut off some of the supply, but the demand still remains, then the supply will just switch somewhere else. Yeah. And this is what you kind of, when you're doing a pressure campaign to close a place down, this is kind of what you've got to look at. Are you just shifting the problem somewhere else? It isn't always the case. It isn't always the case. I mean, one really good example, I think, of where protests and stuff like that have been really successful is to do with the campaign against the greyhound racing industry, and that was something I was involved in for many years. And basically what's happening is people are going outside the dog tracks and they're kind of doing demos, and they're kind of giving leaflets to people going in and persuading those people not to go again. And this has resulted really in a large number of greyhound tracks closing down. Yeah, there was quite a few this last year, wasn't there? Yeah, a lot of closed. The COVID's, not
before COVID though. They were shutting down. I think there was a couple. Yeah.
But you see, the reason is because they're in a situation where their profit margins are very narrow anyway. So you've only got to stop a small percentage of people from going in, and they can't break even. You see, so you're kind of on they're in the danger. So you're just pushing them over the edge, right?
Yeah.
And like loads and loads of tracks, and that's successful. But in a way, you see, although you could say that's a pressure campaign, it's attacking demand as well, because what you're doing is you're like, in the same way, it's like, say I educate someone to be vegan. What I'm doing is basically educating them not to go in the shop and buy the animal products. And then that reflects in less demand for those products, and that then reflects in less animals being oppressed to provide those products, or fewer animals. Exactly. And it's kind of really the same with that campaign against greyhound racing, because what you're doing is although it looks like it's a kind of pressure campaign, it's actually to do with demand, because you're in the same way as with vegan campaign, you're educating people not to buy those products. With that campaign against the dog tracks, you're educating people not to go in and not to spend their money going in the track. So it's kind of similar in that way, although it looks like a pressure campaign, you see. So but it's a situation, it's a sort of thing I'm saying where demonstrations can be kind of highly effective. And I think it's really important to analyse, what is the real effect of this pressure going to be. And sometimes it's, it can be a positive thing. Sometimes you can stop things and you know that that's not going to go elsewhere. But you have to look at each one individually, I think.
Definitely. So my advice to you, Vegan Linkat, is check out, if you're in the UK, Animal Justice Project have got some great leaflets. I know iAnimal have some, or Animal Aid, sorry, and also Viva have some great ones as well. But in most inexpensive flyers, I know that Viva's turkey campaign this year was free. I got 100, didn't pay anything, and but sometimes I think it's good to donate to these charities because they do so much good work. So
Animal Aid will send them free. We found Animal Aid are probably the best ones for sending. I mean, what will happen when loads and loads of people start asking? I don't know, but I've been saying at the moment they send them free. Viva, what we found with Viva, if you kind of want a small amount, then they'll send them free. But if you kind of like, I mean, we ordered thousands of their Animal Farming is Killing Us leaflets because it was related to COVID. And we found that the only way to really get that number and to have them arrive in good time was to pay for them.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah. But if you've got a group of you and you could club together, then that
club together and raise some money and to be quite honest, the cost wasn't exorbitant. The cost of they were charging was probably around about what it cost them to have them printed, to be honest.
Yeah.
They didn't look like they were trying to make money out of them. They don't make money if someone sends them a donation that gets the leaflet, of course, but they weren't charging. They weren't trying to make money out of it.
I think it's fair. They're spending that time printing up their leaflets. It's fair that you should donate a bit of money towards that. And then Gail said, what do you think about Veganuary? I used to think it was okay, but it seems to me it's just about changing your diet and nothing to do with being vegan.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it is mainly about, it's funny, I got thrown off the Veganuary Facebook group because I kept posting stuff there about vegans need to be active. They didn't like it. Obviously, and then I can't find it now, so obviously I'm obviously blocked. We've done. Yes, I think Veganuary is kind of aimed at. I think once again, going back to this thing about the conservative vegan group that's been set up to do Veganuary, and it's plant-based. It's a plant-based thing, really. It should be called
some of the plant-based January, but some of the faces they've got on it are not even vegan. There was one of the characters from EastEnders was saying that she did Veganuary 3 years and she thinks it's great, but she still eats meat. So, well,
I think it's kind of like perhaps a toe in the water thing. I mean, some of their because, like I said, we're doing Facebook advertising our local group Wildforest Vegans, and we've so far done 3 vegan, and we've used Veganuary videos. We've taken videos off their Facebook page and used them, and those videos haven't just been about food. Those videos have been about what happens to the animals. And go vegan to stop that. So they haven't just been about food. So there is that aspect. And I think the other thing is that kind of, although it's not perfect, like if we can get people, if we can get people going plant-based, then it's like a toe in the water, and then we can maybe take them further, bring them further along the road and get them to become actual vegans. Yeah, it's like a start. It's a starter. So, no, it's not. It isn't perfect. No, and no. Some of these criticisms are very well founded, but I think it's still. I think overall, it's still a positive thing. It's still a thing that can be used to start people off, and it kind of opens loads of doors. Like we had last year, we had local libraries wanting us to do stalls for Veganuary. Come and do a stall because it's Veganuary, and you can put your vegan leaflets in the library because it's veganuary. You know, it seems to be one of these things that has become a door opener. So I think we've got to kind of use it. We've got to use veganuary to get people to be vegan.
Yeah. And then that's another way that you can do your own campaign as well, is wait, rather than wait for people to ask for you, go to them and say, can I do a stall? Can I do a talk at it, you know, at this place or that place? And then because it's veganuary, and use that as like a kick in. And then you can talk about the ethics and the animal rights side of it. Definitely. So UK, go on, sorry.
Oh, yes, yeah, oh yes, UK vegan family. Yeah, I mean that would be great. I mean, you know, hopefully when all this COVID stuff is over and people are out and about more, that it would be great to get together and do some stuff.
One thing I should do, and I should have done before the interview, is got a link to your pages on Facebook where people can reach out. So if you can send me that afterwards, I'll edit the description and put it in there if people want to reach out to you and get some advice or join in some of your events. This mess is over.
If people want to sort of message me on Facebook, my Facebook name is General Ronnie Lee, General as in me, and that's a joke really. And the reason I use that is because at my last court case where I got 10 years, the judge called me the General because they gave everyone ranks, you know.
Yeah.
I was the General, and then someone else was my lieutenant, and other people was Roger was an area commander, I think. If it's still here.
Roger was the commander, was he?
He was like his area commander, and then there was foot soldiers. They give everyone ranks, you see, so as to kind of, you know, they get a sentence according to their rank. Because unfortunately, I was a general. I got 10 years. So I thought, oh well, and when I went to join Facebook and I put in Ronnie Lee, there already was a Ronnie Lee. I couldn't use that, you know, on your kind of, you know, like the name that you use, not the name that appears, but like the email thing.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, what can I put General Ronnie Lee, you know, and so if people look for General Ronnie Lee on, or just search Facebook for Ronnie Lee, and my picture is me with a rat on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's my one. And then just you can message me. If you're not a Facebook friend, I'll still get the message. I always check they go in a different place, but I always check.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I miss them sometimes, but yeah,
I won't miss them. So
I reached out to you, and you got back to me really quickly, and I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to message him. It's fine. He's just another human being like me.
Be the change that UK Vegan Family mentioned. That's a vegan cafe. In Worcester, which is like about 15 miles from us. Great place, great people that run it, and it's a place that really promotes vegan. Because I have sometimes a little complaint about vegan cafes is they tend to just be about the food, and you know, but like the vegan ethic isn't mentioned, you know, and so it becomes a bit like, you know, people have the attitude, oh well, one day I'll eat Chinese, another day I'll eat Indian, then the third day I'll eat vegan. It's like kind of in that category rather than being like part of something much more. And so I think all vegan cafes should be promoting ethical veganism and have stuff in there that does that. And Be the Change does do that. It's very obvious that, you know, they're there, you know, because of concern for, you know, because they believe in animal liberation, and I think that's really good.
Yeah, definitely. We're quite lucky. We go to the same little family-run Italian place after every event. It's really small, but the daughter's vegan, and she's convinced her dad to put loads of vegan stuff on the menu, and she's convinced her dad all the ice cream's vegan as well. But he's gone vegan as well this year, which is fantastic. And he put in who is it now? Gail, who's in the chat, she bought a turkey poster with her about, you know, not eating turkeys for Christmas. And she asked him if we'd put it up in the window, and he said, yeah, and he put it up in the window. So I'm waiting for them to go 100%. That's like perfect. I wasn't expecting to do that. I didn't expect him to go vegan, but he proudly, we went in there after an event. He's got this thick Italian accent. He's like, Rebecca, I have to tell you, I've done it. I went vegan. And I was just like, yes. I was like, I just wanted to hug him, but it was COVID and I couldn't. And I was just so pleased.
It does give you a big boost. I mean, we're lucky where we are. We've got two we've got 2 vegan cafes, and we've got a vegetarian one that's kind of probably 95% vegan. So, we really for a place that you kind of wouldn't particularly expect that, which is great. And this is all fairly recent. This is only just in the last few years. This has all happened. But yeah, I mean, what other questions have we got? Any others?
Have we got any more questions before we? Otherwise, we'll call it a night if there's no more questions. But I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I was kind of nervous, but no, I'm not. You've been so much fun and so interesting to talk to.
So the thing about I mentioned before about the importance of people becoming organisers. That doesn't have to be a big deal. Like there's vegans are everywhere. The vegans everywhere, and if someone decides, well, I'm going to start organising some stuff just in my local area, it really is quite likely that you'll fairly soon, unless you may well know these people already, that you'll fairly soon find other vegans to do stuff with. I mean, people could do stuff.
Yeah, once I did one event, I met loads of other vegans. It just
you will, and there's loads that you can do with small numbers. So don't think that you have to have this huge group of like 20 people. I think you don't. You really don't. You can do it. Just do it. And it's so important. You see, if everyone did it everywhere, if we had this vegan outreach going on, like I said, every town, every city, every suburb, then just think how far the message was spread and how it would go right down to the grassroots of our communities. And I think the other thing, one thing that we found with our group is that we've got very involved with our local environmental movement. We've got involved with our local transition group, our local Friends of the Earth, our local Extinction Rebellion. Because obviously, the kind of, maybe not veganism, but, in a plant diet goes very much, like these days with environmental protection. And that opens doors. It means that we're able to do stalls at their events, all the events they put on, we're able to do stalls. And what we've noticed is that the vegan presence of these events has got more and more and more, as we've become involved with it. So that's another way of being able to do more stuff that's not just on the street, but is, in lots of other kind of community events and community places. We need to have probably a more broad-based approach to how we do stuff, I think.
Definitely. I want to thank everybody that's stuck with us and listened to us talk for 2 hours almost. It's been amazing. And we've had some lovely comments from people just saying they've really enjoyed listening to you and they've learned loads and great chat from what I've seen and what a fab couple of hours. And
that's good. I'm glad to be positive. I think we need to be positive. You see,
yes,
it's very, very easy to get downhearted. I mean, the edifice of like animal oppression is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous, and it's easy to get despondent and think, there's nothing I can do. What is my little contribution going to do? What difference is that going to make? You see, but like my 2 favourite sayings are both like ancient Chinese proverbs, and like one of them is better to light a small candle than to curse the darkness. It's better to do something than despair. You see, and if enough of us light a small candle, the darkness would be gone, wouldn't it? All these candles would completely dispel the darkness, you see. That's the first thing. And my other one is the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, right? So no matter how far off your objective seems to be, if you're going to get there, you've got to take that first step. You've got to take that first step on the journey. You've got to set forth upon that journey in order to reach that final goal, which, for us would obviously be animal liberation. And so we have to, all these little things are like really important. And if all you can do, someone's in a situation where, because they're, other things in their life, they can only do a little bit, then do that little bit because it all adds up. It all adds up. We can be happiness even in the smallest of ways. And that is so, so important.
And if there's more of us doing little things, then that, like you said, it all adds up. I 100% agree. I can't remember who it is, but there's a famous woman. I used to have it as my banner on my Facebook page, and it was something like change happened with what was it? I'm going to find it before we go. It was really good.
I think it's important to remember as well that change doesn't happen by magic.
No.
Change only happens if we make it happen. Right? It's not going to happen by magic. Like Tesco didn't invent veganism. The reason why they got all those products in there is because they know that the vegans are going to come along and buy them. They're not there to promote veganism. They're there to make profit. Right? What happened? The reason for that is because people educate people to go vegan, and the number of vegans increased. And so they thought, we can make money out of these people. That's what happened there. And so we have to make change, we have to create change. But creating change doesn't necessarily mean like a big fuss and a big hoo-ha or anything like that. It can be like these little things, everyone doing the little bit that they can, or as much as they can. I mean, if there's something to do with loads, that's brilliant, but I know not everyone can. Everyone do what they can. Everyone who's a vegan think of themselves as I'm not just a vegan, I'm a vegan activist, and I'm going to do what I can when I can.
Definitely. There it is. It's Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That is true. It's small. It's like the many, never so many owed so much to so few. And the bloke that is kind of said by Winston Churchill, of course, and of course there's question marks over him. But I think we probably apply the same to when the vegan revolution is achieved. That all these animals that will end up being spared will have owed it to really quite a small number of people.
Yeah.
But let's be one of those people. Let's be one of those people. We've only got one life on Earth, right? As far as we know, we're only here once, right? And so, are we going to live a life that's worthwhile? Are we going to live a life so that when it comes like we're dying, we think, I made a difference. I actually, helped change the world. I helped to make the world a better place. And if you look at what is the biggest atrocity of all that's occurring on the earth, the most horrendous oppression. It's lots of terrible things are done by humans to other humans, and we need to try and stop those, of course. But the biggest area of oppression is what humans do to other animals, right? That's like massive, and to be part of stopping that, to have played an active part in stopping that, you think, well, I played my part in stopping that. I lived a worthwhile life. I lived a contribution. Because I think it's so sad that so many people live and die, and you think, well, what was that all about? What was that all about? What did they do? What did they achieve? We just went through the paces, went through emotions.
Got up, went to work, got home, watched
Love Island or whatever.
You don't watch that, do you?
No, I just say the word. I don't know. I'm hoping I'll be able to go on there, but
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but do something, like get up and do something.
Because then, otherwise we've only got the one chance,
one life,
and make your mark, make a difference, be a force for positive change in the world, and let's this most fundamental of all oppressions. Let's fight and let's get rid. And we can win. We've got the numbers. This is the thing. We've got the numbers. The people against us have got the money. The industries of animal oppression have got the money.
Yeah.
Right. At the moment, they've got the power. They won't always. We can have that power off them. If we do it the right way. At the moment, they've got the power. We haven't got the money. We haven't at present got the power. But what we've got is the numbers. We've got the numbers, right? And so if those numbers can become active, we can overwhelm all of their money. We can overwhelm all of the ability they have to spread their message. See, we've got the numbers, and so we have to use those numbers. And we're all, every vegan is a part of those numbers. Every vegan can play their part in that, in this struggle. Even if it's in a really little way, that still matters. Even if someone, all they can do is write a letter to the newspaper promoting veganism, then great, do it. That's really important. That person, to me, is an animal liberationist just as much as someone that goes and breaks in somewhere, because that person is doing as much as they can.
Yeah.
And they're part of the struggle. They're part of what we might call the war effort, against against the oppression of other animals.
Exactly.
Everyone play their part.
And if you need any help, anyone watching, if you're not sure, reach out to Ronnie, reach out to me. My Instagram is on my YouTube channel. I work full time, but when I'm free, I'll message you back. And Ronnie said he's happy for people to reach out to him as well. Let's get people active and let's help you get started. And thanks again, Ronnie, for joining.
I can give people a bit of help and advice about somebody wants to start a group, somebody wants to be active in their local area. I can give a few tips about what they can do. And obviously things are very restricted with the COVID.
Yeah.
I think it might become even more restricted.
In fairness, though, that will give you preparation for when COVID is done, so you can get everything together and do all the research that you need.
Ready to burst out in a big wave.
Burst out in a big vegan activist rant. Yeah, definitely.
Boris starts to regret that he's lifted.
Like a phoenix from the ashes. Thanks again, though, Ronnie, and thanks again, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. I will timestamp it. I know I haven't done my last couple of live streams, but I will get on it and timestamp them so you can find the bits that you want. But yeah, thanks again, Ronnie. Much love to you and for the animals.
Yeah, and to you and to everyone in the chat. And let's go for it. And we can do it.
We can.
We really can. Smashing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye then. Take care.